One of my favorite quotes from Hani Rambad is, "Don't be in a rush to get your ass whooped." This was advice he gave to Phil Heath after he won, I think it was a Night of Champions or New York Pro, something like that. And that gave him an Olympia qualification. And Hani told him not to do the Olympia because he knew he did not have enough size. So, what is the point of this video? Patience. Bodybuilding physique competitions are a game of patience. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I know all of you have heard this before, but let's think about this in a practical way. I see this a lot in younger competitors, especially in men's physique. It's a great way to get started into the physique world. So you do your first show, you're really excited, and you can't wait till next season to do another show and do another show and do another show. But when are you growing? For the younger people, when you're in your 20s to 30s, you will grow more, provided your nutrition is on point and your working out is, what it should be, true hypertrophy training, and you know what the hell you're doing. So if you want to be in this for the long game, then you really need to think very hard about, how often am I going to compete? You need to give yourself, in my opinion, 6, 7, 8 months. 8 would be even better, to put some tissue on yourself before you start your next prep. Yeah, I know you're excited about doing your next show, but did you win overall as, in the open? If you won the overall and it was your first show, okay, these rules or these guidelines don't apply to you as much, but I will tell you how they will apply to you. When you do your first show, maybe you do one more soon afterwards. I wouldn't really suggest doing 3, because you're probably going to get the same type of placing, and it's not going to give your body any time to improve. So take the time to build some muscle, not fat. Build muscle. Work out smart, eat smart, and do all the things that you need to do, and learn how to live a bodybuilding lifestyle. Even if you're doing men's physique or you're a female competitor, there is a lifestyle to this. Now, if you are in your 40s and you're just now really getting into wanting to compete, these guidelines are going to be a little different for you, because are you going to put on tissue the same way someone who is in their 20s, 30s is going to put on tissue? No, you're not. Can you improve and can you add size? You certainly can. This applied to me. You only have X amount of time to compete. When you get into your 60s or late 50s, prep is not as easy as it used to be. And that's the God's honest truth. Here's something I want you to think about. Chris Bumstead had been competing for, I think, 9 years, and he was ready to get out of the game. He was tired of prepping. And I'm going to tell you from experience, and I know a lot of you young people are not interested in hearing what somebody who is older and has more experience has something what to say about this, but I promise you there is only X amount of time that you can suffer. If you want to win, like I did, you have to suffer. I was never taking first place, but I was, did pretty well. You have to suffer, and as you get older, it really wears on you. This sport is not cheap. It is not cheap at all. Not only does it cost you financially, it pretty much terminates your social life and a whole lot of other things. When you were in this life, I was in the lifestyle for close to 11 years, and I'm sick of it, man. I'm just sick of it. I miss it now, but I just had enough. And you have to remember, or this is something that you've got to keep in your brain, that if you want any type of longevity in this sport, you have to make it enjoyable, stay relatively lean during the off season, so you're not doing 16-week preps. Give yourself and your body time to heal and time to grow. In today's generation and today's time, patience is becoming something of the past. We are in a I want it now generation. And bodybuilding just doesn't work like that. It takes time to really develop muscle and mature muscle. And there is a difference in the way that new muscle looks compared to very mature muscle. Hadi Chupan is a great example of that. If you think you're going to have great results in 1 year, 2 year, then yeah, you might get some newbie gains, but what happens when you actually diet down and get shredded? You're gonna lose some of that muscle mass unless you've got a really good coach who knows how to ride that edge of dieting down while maintaining what you have. And if you think that is easy, you are sadly mistaken. Every year your prep is going to be different. Every year your body is a little different. So it takes, I think, around 4 years of competing to really have a good understanding of the general properties of what happens to your body when you prep. I've spoken about this before, and they're probably only going to be maybe 3 years where you're really going to nail that prep. So some people I know just love to compete, and they don't really care how they do, and I don't know where they get all this money for entry fees and everything, and they just do a whole lot of shows, and they just kind of maintain the same look, and they enjoy the travel, they enjoy the camaraderie, and seeing the same competitors over and over again, and that's cool with them. But if you're a new competitor and you want to do well, that's not the philosophy to take. Here is my second bit of advice when it comes to patience and competition. If you win a local show, which is a national qualifier, yes, you are qualified to go to nationals, but are you ready to compete against everybody in the United States, Mexico, and Canada when you go to North Americans? Why don't you take an honest think about that? Now, let's say that you look pretty good and somehow you get lucky and you eke out a win, and you've gotten your pro card in the first year, 2 years of competing. Now you are way behind the power curve as far as the pros are concerned. When you look at what the height and the weight caps are of the real pros, you'll find you've got a lot of work to do unless you're one of these very lucky people who is just genetically gifted. And there's not a lot of people around who have that type of good genetics. So even if you're an amateur and you win your local show, then I really feel like it's better, before you start shooting for the pros, go to a larger amateur show. Can you win that? Can you win? And then if you can win that, now go to the Arnold Amateur or Olympia Amateur. If you win there, then yes, you are ready to compete at the pro level. Now, the situation is a little bit different for masters competitors. So let's say you get your pro card and you're 48 years old, or you qualify and then you go to nationals and you happen to win, like the 40 plus, or you happen to win 50 plus, and you know that, okay, I've got my pro card, but I'm not competing in the open. You are competing against people your own age, and and you might compete in a couple, like in one category below. Like there was a guy I was competing against who was already in his 60s who was still winning in the 40 and over. But man, he had been blessed his whole life with a good physique. And so your clock is kind of shortened, and your competition is whittled down on the pro level. And here's something I think is you need to consider or think about is, correct, you are not competing in at an open level. But when you're competing in open level, you're competing on a level playing field. Everybody looks good, everybody's pretty much young, everybody has potential for lots of growth. So you're generally competing against people your own age. I had no qualms at all about competing in the 60 plus, because I was competing against people against my own age. And let me tell you what, there is a big difference between somebody who's in their 40s and somebody who's in their 60s. But once again, I was still on a level playing field. And that's something really important to think about in your bodybuilding career. So don't rush into being a pro unless you know you are only going to be competing in the masters, at masters level. And there's nothing, man, your competition's going to be just as stiff, I promise. And you've got just as much to be proud of, and you're working just as hard as everybody else. Take this old man advice. Don't think that you can just go to a national qualifying show like a local show and then think you're going to take the world by storm at nationals and then take the world by storm on the pro level, because it just does not happen that way. Take your time. If you want to do well and keep this career, or might not be a career for me, it is kind of career, because all I do is I'm a trainer. That's all I do. I work in a gym. I live in a gym. So it is my career. It was the basis of social media, my business. This is my qualification. And people could see me get ready for shows every year and see how I can change my body. So it was a very important aspect of my training, coaching career. But if you have a regular job and this is what you do on the side and you want longevity in this sport, patience, patience, patience. Always think of the long game and then determine your short-term goals. Don't be in a hurry to get your ass whooped. Hope you found this interesting. If you have any comments, I would love to hear them. Please be nice. And thanks for your support. Be sure to hit that thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel. Share it with everybody else. Until next time, this is Yaakov Baram. Yalla bye.